Today, we're going to be looking at three old Valve games. There isn't anything specific we're going to be looking at, just booting up each game and see what they have to offer. So today, we'll be looking at Team Fortress Classic, Deathmatch Classic, and Ricochet. Team Fortress Classic, also known as Team Fortress 1.5, is a class-based multiplayer shooter developed by Valve. It is basically a port of a Quake 1 mod called Team Fortress. Released in 1999, Team Fortress pitches players against each other with the option to choose from 10 different player classes. What made Team Fortress different at the time was that it required players to rely heavily on each other because of the class system. Each class had their own pros and cons. The scout is fast, the sniper has a long-range rifle, soldier has armor and rockets, demo man has grenade launchers, medic has the ability to heal teammates, heavy has a minigun, pyro has a flamethrower, spy can disguise himself as the opposing team's member, and the engineer can build structures. Of course, this is just a straight up simple explanation of each class. If we dive deep into the details, each class has a lot of unique traits that only the most expert players know about. In 2003, GameSpy, rest in peace, reported that Team Fortress was one of the most played mod for Half-Life. Like Counter-Strike 1.6 at the time, Team Fortress was a trending game to play. Although I was part of the Counter-Strike craze back then, it saddens me to realize that I missed out on Team Fortress. The game has three modes: Capture the Flag, Control Point, Assassination Escort. CTF is self-explanatory, but Control Point is similar. In this mode, players on each team have to fight and capture points laid around the map. In Assassination Escort, there is a team of three. Hunted and bodyguards work together and fight off the assassins. The premise was simple. The hunted need to reach a specific point to win, while the assassins hunted them and the bodyguards fought off the assassins to save the hunted. Team Fortress uses a lot of Half-Life 1 textures and materials. In each map you can see the familiarity. The game by default has 15 maps, but the players have option to add in thousands of custom maps from the internet. The maps are large in size compared to games like Counter-Strike 1.6. They have a complex layout and design. Although some of them seemed identical, most of them had the familiar Half-Life textures and were a good nostalgia trip, sort of, even though I've never played this game before. Surprisingly, there were still some servers active with some players online. Unfortunately, my internet connection didn't get a good ping on any of them. I tried to see what the gameplay is like, and it was fast-paced with constant gunfights. I stuck to the scout class since that seemed like the simplest one to use. Overall, it's a great mod. Shame I didn't get to experience it when, it was the big thing to play. Up next, we have Deathmatch Classic, an ode to id Software developed by Valve and released in 2001 as a retail release. Deathmatch Classic, or DMC, is a simple multiplayer game. You jump in and you start blasting. That's it. You can get power-ups like quad damage, invulnerability, and Ring of Shadows, which partially turns the player invisible. The game by default has 5 maps ported from Quake 1 and is given an updated design treatment. Compared to Team Fortress and Counter-Strike, the maps are either linear or small with a lot of corridors. There is an emphasis on fast-paced action as you rocket jump around the map. The maps' design have a gritty feel to them. The atmosphere is kept dark and gloomy, with lava pits lighting up certain areas in some maps. They definitely have that Quake vibe to them. Like Team Fortress, I did see some servers online, but nobody playing them. There was a server with bots, so I decided to join in. Unfortunately, I had the same internet problem again, so the experience was a bit disjointed. I did have fun though. I'm not sure how famous this mod was, but who knows? Maybe there are people out there who have fond memories of playing this mod in their childhood. Ricochet was a mod or something too. Okay. Ricochet was a game developed by Valve and released in the futuristic year of 2000. Not to be rude, but I didn't get any charming feelings from this mod. I mean, it's cool, but feels very restricted. It has 3 maps by default, and I can't even imagine if someone decided to design a custom map for this thing. Kudos if someone did. So you load in, have floating round platforms from which you can shoot discs at other people to kill them or knock them off into the void below. Oh, and get this, you can't jump. Yes, you cannot jump in Ricochet. To move to the other platforms, you need to run towards these arrows and you will be launched into the air in that direction. There are power-ups spewed about that you can pick up too. I was fascinated to see that there were actual servers online, but fortunately all of them were empty. But again, I had to experience what the gameplay is like, so I joined a server that had bots in them. I played for a minute and just quit. It's a cool little game, but I just don't feel like ever playing it again. The only reason I looked at it today is because it's old, and because it's old, it gives off a pseudo-nostalgic vibe. Looking at these 3 mods, I wonder how it felt to play them back in the day. You know, back when they were considered the big thing, the mainstream games. Just Team Fortress Classic and Deathmatch. I'm not talking about Ricochet. I don't think Ricochet was ever anything. I feel like an era of these types of multiplayer shooters is gone, and we'll never be able to experience them again like we did back then. These were simple games with their own respective communities and endless user-made content. As I roam these empty servers and their empty maps, I realize people have moved on. It may be strange of me to say this, but I miss these types of games, and I miss this era of gaming. I miss downloading maps from the internet to play in these mods. I miss the times when I didn't have to worry about season passes and loot boxes. I miss the time when I didn't have to worry about if the game will be broken on launch or not. I don't want the realistic graphics that current games have. I want these blocky models, simple maps, and just fun gameplay. But everything must move forward because nothing ever remains the same. Thank you so much for staying this long and watching this video.